Hi, I'm Matt Griffith, and welcome to another episode of Places to Go. This is one of our travel hacks episodes, and this one is on language. In this episode, we're going to cover all the various ways to learn a language, and everybody learns differently. Some people may find one way to learn easier than another person. We're also going to have an interview with Benny Lewis from Fluent in 3 Months. He's got some interesting takes, and I love one of the ways that he goes about it. He basically says, start speaking it from day one. You'll learn from your mistakes, and I agree with that. We're going to cover flashcards. We're going to cover all the different kinds of books and audio books. So there's so many different ways, including apps, software on the computer. There's just lots of ways to learn. And the moral to this whole thing is, it doesn't matter where you are, there is a method for you to learn. And I'm doing flashcards. Flashcards are one of my favorite way to learn, but everybody learns differently, so this may or may not be the best way for you, but for me it works really good. Lets me see a word and flip it over, and the cool thing is you've got the foreign language on one side, your English on the other. You can learn from either side, so you can test yourself from the Spanish side in my case, and then see if you know the English word, or vice versa. And these are relatively inexpensive. You can get them in a bunch of different languages, and there's several different companies that make them. But another cool thing is they also have phrases and blank ones. And so the blank ones, you can write whatever you want on them. So you can learn words that maybe aren't in the decks that you get that are relevant to maybe your job or something you need to know based on an industry you work in. Another method for learning is something called the gold list method. It's fairly a newer concept, but the idea behind it is that you write a list of 25 words down in whatever language you're learning, as well as the English, and you don't study them. You basically are just writing them down. And then the next day, you go and flip the page and write them down on the left side of that page, basically the back side of the notebook page, and do the same thing, 25 words. And you keep doing this until 2 weeks later, you come back to this first page that you did that's on the left-hand side, and now you write numbers 1 through 14 and write the 14 words that you don't comprehend over here. And the idea is that you're going to remember about 30% of the words just for writing them down, and 70% you're not. So you'll write those number 1 through 14 words, and the idea is in 2 weeks later you're going to come back to those again, and you're going to have remembered 30% of those, and now you're going to number 1 through 10 below that on this same piece of paper. And this concept keeps on going on. 2 weeks later you're going to come back and do the exact same thing, 1 through 7, at the very bottom of this left-hand side. And the idea is that this puts it in your long-term memory. Remember when you were in school and you were studying for a test and it was like a cram study? You know, the day after the test, you forgot everything that you studied because that all was put into your short term because of how you were studying. This idea basically tosses it into your long-term memory, little bits at a time. And it's quite effective, actually. I've found it to be very good, and there's a lot of stuff on the internet about it where a lot of language polyglots are talking about it and saying that it's effective for them as well. So this is something that is free to try. It doesn't cost you anything. and it's about the cheapest method you can get. Another fantastic way to learn is a frequency dictionary. And you think frequency, is that like radio? No, it's how frequent the word is used. So for example, in here, B is the most frequent word in Estonian, with self or I being the second and no being the third. It has them literally numbered in the order of their frequency in use. So you can learn the 100 most popular words real easy this way. And of course, it's got them all the way up to, in this case, this book is book 1, and has the 2,500 most common words. The company that makes this is a pretty good company. They have a lot of different languages, and they make a book 2, a book 3, and a book 4. So like, for example, here is book 4 in French, and it's for words 7,501 to 10,000. Wouldn't it be awesome to learn 10,000 words in a foreign language? But these are truly a little hidden gem. A lot of people don't know about these. And, you know, why not learn the most important and most used words? Another great place to learn is in the car. I mean, what are you doing? You're basically driving to a destination and you're a captive audience. You can listen to the radio, but why not do an audiobook? You can do that on CD. Apple has audiobooks, Android has audiobooks, but you can even do audible.com, and there's lots of different language programs you can get on there. One of my favorites is the Paul Noble series. He has them in several different languages, and he teaches you shortcuts so that you can kind of advance quicker, and it's really good. But this plays, Audible.com actually plays on Apple CarPlay as well as the Android equivalent. We live in a fantastic age for language learning. With the advent of smartphones has emerged inexpensive apps. Okay, well, most of the time apps are inexpensive. There are several language learning apps that range in price from free all the way to what one might say is a pricey monthly or annual fee. Take Rosetta Stone, for instance. You might think they are the best because you've seen and heard their name everywhere. After all, they advertise in airports, magazines, websites, and a myriad of other locations. All of that advertising comes at a cost, and while their homepage says free means free, nothing is really free at Rosetta Stone. And that cost, as you can see at the time of this recording, is $179 for a 12-month subscription, or $249 for a 24-month subscription. Now, if you insist you want Rosetta Stone, sign up for their email newsletter. Yes, they're going to market you to death, but they will ultimately send you an offer like this. As you can see, the price drops to $95.88 for the 12-month subscription and $119.76 for the 24-month subscription. But let's move on to free. Duolingo is hard to beat. They have a totally free version that rocks, or you can go ad-free for Duolingo Plus, which is comparable to other language learning subscription models. But I'd definitely be more prone to funding them since they're so giving with a great app that has so many language offerings for free. 35 to be exact, if you consider Klingon a language. But in all seriousness, Duolingo is absolutely one of my favorite apps. Another app that I have grown to like is Monly. I subscribe to a free email newsletter called CNET Cheapskate, where Rick Broida informs you of the fantastic deal of the days he's found every Monday through Friday, and often includes coupon codes for additional savings. He reports on TV, speakers, phones, and everything else, including language apps, and Monly was one of those. Monly ran a deal that he reported for $60 for 5 languages for a lifetime, not 12 months or 24 months like Rosetta Stone. The app is truly fantastic and has a multitude of learning styles, making it a very effective method of language learning. Bikey Mobile is another app that I love. It is made by Transparent Language, who produces a lot of language learning products. It is an Anki-style flashcard concept, which I find is a very good way to learn languages. The app is free to download and has over 80 languages to choose from, and most of the languages give you 2 or 3 flashcard decks for free. After that, you can buy the full flashcard decks for a one-time $7.99 per language, and you permanently own them, or as long as the app is available in the App Store, which brings me to one more thing. There are apps that I have purchased over the years that have disappeared. so know that nothing is truly permanent in the app world. But then those Pimsleur French cassette tapes that you bought in the 90s aren't doing you much good now either, are they? There are numerous other apps such as Babbel, Mango, Memrise, and the list goes on. And I do find learning from multiple apps does reinforce your learning, as each typically has a slightly different method for learning. One additional note, most of the language learning companies, including Rosetta Stone, offer Black Friday deals as well as Christmas and New Year's deals, but you'll typically need to be in their email newsletter list to be informed of those, or you can sign up for ours and we'll let you know when we run across them.
Oh, hey, I'm reading Jules Verne, but I'm reading it in Spanish, actually English and Spanish, because this is a parallel book where half is in English and the other half is in Spanish, so it allows me to kind of test how good I can understand the Spanish language. I have the English to fall back on. This is a little harder to do, and if you're new at the language, you're not going to be very good at it. But if you do it each week, you can see your progress. So, and if you do it right before bedtime, well, if you're like me, it'll help put you to sleep.
There are some great deals to be had on used language learning books on Amazon. As you can see, here are some examples where I paid 10 cents and even 1 cent for books, both of which were in good condition. Used books will typically have a $3.99 shipping fee unless it is an Amazon Prime fulfilled book.
Oh, you caught me reading Dirty German. It's really not as bad as it sounds. It's got street slang, basically the way people really talk in a destination. And, classes and normal textbooks really don't always teach you that. They teach you the proper ways, kind of like ain't really isn't a word, but everybody uses it. Some of the things in this, well, I'm learning Furtzen, and to be honest, I'm not going to tell you what that is on camera. You got to buy the book if you want to know what that is. But it's got things in here like, got any big plans for tonight? Hast du heute Abend was Großartiges vor? I butchered that, and we'll get a lot of comments from German people. But anyway, this has got just normal things. It does have a few not so normal, but it's great for the just to learn a little bit about the way people really do talk in a destination. So there's this brand of books, which they have this in several different languages, and there's a competing company that has it's called Street, and then the language, so like Street German, Street Spanish, and both are really great books and do the same thing basically. I'm here with Benny Lewis, and he has probably the coolest language site that I've ever run across, and you've probably heard of it. It's Fluent in 3 months. So, as I have read on the site, you speak 11 languages, but I think you said yesterday, you told me like 5 of them are what you really feel truly comfortable with.
Yeah, it's always an issue when someone asks how many languages do you speak, because where's that cutoff point?
Right.
So generally, when it comes to fluency, where I'm socially equivalent, and I could go out and have friends and just do exactly what I did last night here in English in that language, then that's 5 languages. And then I can get by if somebody's patient and speaks slowly with me in another maybe 6.
And so I speak German pretty well, but I'm more like that latter part you said. I have to process. About while they're doing their second sentence, I'm deciphering the first one.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing, just like anything, like riding a bike. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes.
Well, and one of the things I saw about yours, which I like, because when you're learning a language, it's like you find a way to procrastinate using it, and your concept is start using it immediately.
Literally, my catchphrase is speak from day one.
Yeah.
And everything about what I try to encourage people to do is not necessarily how to study. It's getting out there, it's giving them permission to make mistakes. It's showing them via my videos that I'm okay with sounding like I'm speaking Tarzan Spanish that first week, I'm okay with lots of hesitations and how I get around not knowing enough words, and reminding them that other people are going to be very encouraging, because it's mostly a mental barrier that you feel you sound like such an idiot, who would ever want to listen to you? But people really love seeing, especially English speakers, try to learn their language in many, many countries.
Yes. And so, yeah, like I said, even things just even going through, comparing yours to others I've seen, yours is probably, if it's not the most affordable, is the closest to it. And because there's other packages out there I've seen that are 2 and 3 times the price of yours. So it's like, to me, it's like when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, I like everything I'm seeing about this. And not only that, I like the price.
Yeah, I mean, I try to, like a lot of content creators, I actually try to make as much as my advice as free as possible.
Yeah.
Like through the blog, through my videos, and through encouragement. I mean, I have some books and I have some products, but I just like to think that that's effectively supporting me in the bigger message of encouraging people. When it comes to products, some of my favorite ones would include the likes of italki, since that connects you directly with native speakers who can teach you the language. And again, this goes into my philosophy of speak from day one. It's not something that's teaching at you like an app that just kind of reminds you words and such. Instead, you have to speak with a person. And that pressure of you've set an appointment, you're going to speak with them. And then probably the other one after that that I'm a fan of is the Pod 101 series. So for instance, Spanish Pod 101, Japanese Pod 101. And I like these because another issue that people face in language learning is not understanding. You might be able to just about express a few words, but when people reply, it's like a wall of noise to you. And it feels very intimidating when you watch the news or you watch a TV show and it's like a machine gun of words being shot at you. So the way around that is to ease yourself in. And one way to do that is, of course, with native speakers who'll speak very slowly to you, but there's only so much you can do with that if you can afford it and so on. But a site like italki, you're connecting with somebody in their country, so you could get a Spanish lesson from someone in Colombia and take advantage of the currency differences. But even separate to that, if you're listening to these kinds of podcasts, they actually intentionally, in the lower levels, slow down their speech. And they'll spend an entire 20-minute session explaining a 2-sentence conversation. And then the next level, they'll spend the 20 minutes explaining a 2-minute conversation. And they work their way up, and in the intermediate levels, they just don't explain it in English anymore.
Okay.
And that's kind of, I feel like for a lot of people, they look at the language and they see people speaking it, and because that's what they're aiming for, that's their ultimate goal, to be this mastery level speaker, it feels so unachievable. And the way I've learned languages, because I'm not naturally talented at it, I have a background in electronic engineering. I did not do well at languages in school. But the reason I started to do well as an adult is because I learned that I just have to be okay with being a beginner, being okay with making a ton of mistakes, and sometimes that's even my goal. I think to myself, today I'm going to make 200 mistakes. And when you have that mentality, you can't fail, you know?
Yeah, well, and even for myself, I've made mistakes, and sometimes when you get the person from the other country to even laugh at you, if I'm in Germany, I'll say "Sprechen Sie langsamer bitte," which, so speak slowly for me, because I just can't interpret it fast enough. In Spanish, I was in Colombia last year, and I didn't know the word despacio yet. So I'm like trying to think of how I can ask them, and so I'm like, hablo tortuga, and they all started laughing. But it changed the dynamics, and they were cool with my terrible Spanish. And so it's like, yeah, I'm a fan of, just use it. It makes sense because
I like that, habla tortuga. That's a really good way of emphasizing it. To speak like a turtle, like a tortoise.
Yeah, they were all laughing. I had about 6 or 7 of them, and they were like, there was like a pause, and then they.
So this is the way I like to encourage people to learn languages, because the goal is communication. So the goal is not to speak perfectly. Like, yes, the perfect word is to say slowly, but if you are able to exchange ideas, if you are able to express a concept, which you did, you have achieved the goal.
Yes.
And yet, as you keep learning, this is not there's this idea of fossilization, you'll make these mistakes forever. That's not how people's brains work. That's not how neuroplasticity works. So I like to be that guy who says speak like a turtle when I'm starting off, and I'll even have bad verb conjugations. I'll be like, yesterday I eat a pizza, you know? I want go supermarket, and all these kinds of things that are incorrect, but if I say to you, I want go supermarket, you know what I mean.
Right.
And that's the point, and that's what people need to be aiming for, and you can do that with lots of mistakes, with lots of hesitations, with an accent, and then with time, you tweak these things, you polish the edges, but you have to start speaking. There's just no way to study your way to fluency, you know? It's like, back to the bike analogy, it's like if you imagined to learn how to ride a bike, you studied aerodynamics and trigonometry to see what angle you should turn your handlebars. Obviously, it doesn't matter how much you master those, until you put your ass on the saddle of a bike, you are not going to get anywhere, you know?
So there you have it. This is Benny Lewis, and your course again is Fluent in 3 months.
Yeah.
And the website is
fluentin3months.com, and if people go there, then they can sign up to my email list, and I give them a free Speak in a Week crash course. All right, well, thanks for having me.
Thank you
very much.
And brushing up on my Japanese before we leave, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and the one thing that I want you to take away from this is you should try to find 2, 3, or 4 of these methods to learn by, because each one will reinforce the other, making it that much easier to learn. It's just different ways to inject it into your brain. So, hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.